Wrestling fans, we're here at Renegade Rampage, and I am standing next to none other than the King. I'm talking about Jerry Lawler. Jerry, thanks for joining us here on WrestleVision.
My pleasure, Scott. Good to be here, and I understand. I've been hearing a lot about your guys' show now. This thing may go network. It may go nationwide. It may become a part of SmackDown or Raw, I'm hearing. Is that true?
We need a commentator, so I mean a play-by-play guy.
I was joking. That's not true. Come on, Scott. No, come on. No, really, it's a pleasure to be on here. It's a pleasure to be in the Hudson Valley area. This is a great area. I love it up here. We got some matches going on behind us back there on the ball field, and it's just an all-around good day.
Your career spans decades. Obviously, you're well known for the King of Memphis. Very memorable match.
King of Wrestling. King of Wrestling.
King of Wrestling. Memorable matches. I mean, basically who's who has stopped through there. Talk about some of your most memorable matches or feuds that you had down in Memphis.
Well, you know, that is something that I'm really proud of. A lot of the people around the country don't necessarily know so much about the history of Memphis wrestling. Memphis, Tennessee, before wrestling went nationwide on cable, there were I think a little over 30 wrestling companies around the country, and everything was territorialized or regionalized, and Memphis was one of those little regions or territories down that encompassed Tennessee and Kentucky and Alabama and Arkansas and Mississippi, and we promoted wrestling down there on a weekly basis. Every Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, we still hold a consecutive sellout record, even beat Elvis's sellout record at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. 11,500 people packed in there every Monday night. It was just tremendous, and as you said, and what I'm most proud of is it veritably became a who's who of wrestling. Almost everybody that you have ever heard of or hear up to this day in the WWE either started or came through Memphis wrestling, and I fortunately got to wrestle just about all of those guys. And so, I mean, you know, when you talk about some of the matches I've had, it's been, I mean, you name them, from Andre the Giant to the Hulk Hogan's to the Ric Flairs to the Dusty Rhodes to even the young guys like Kurt Angle like a lot of people don't realize Kurt Angle got to start right there in Memphis. The Rock got to start right there in Memphis. I had memorable feuds with the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, there. It goes back over a period, the wrestling there, even when I was a kid going to the matches. There has about a 50-year history of some of the best wrestling ever in Memphis. And as a matter of fact, it's still going to this day. I still go back and produce and wrestle on a live wrestling show every Saturday morning in Memphis. And it's probably, I dare say, the only other live TV wrestling that goes on around the country other than the WWE.
I had the chance to talk to Jimmy Hart last month, and Jimmy credits you with getting him into the wrestling business. You guys have been friends for a long time. Tell me what it was like, working with Jimmy. He was a thorn in your side for much of your career, trying to bring men in, trying to take you out, but he could never do it. How was it to work with Jimmy Hart?
Well, you know, it was like I liken it to the old movie Frankenstein. I was sort of like Jimmy Hart's creator, and then later on he kind of turned on the creation, turned on the creator there. What happened? Jimmy Hart and I went to the same high school in Memphis, Treadwell High School. He was about 4 years ahead of me, and when Jimmy was in high school or had just graduated from high school, he became part of a band called the Gentrys that had a hit record called Keep On Dancing that you still hear on the oldies station to this day, and it sold about 5 million records. And so all of a sudden here's this guy from my high school, well, there's 4 guys or 5 guys from my high school were on the charts. They were all over television. They were the biggest stars in the country. They even knocked the Beatles off the charts at the time. Then years later, after I went on, got into wrestling, I happened to look out in the crowd one day, and I realized, I said, wait a minute, I think I know that guy. Sitting on the front row of ringside, I said, that's Jimmy Hart. That's the guy from the Gentrys. And so after the show, we talked and everything, and this band was still playing at a little nightclub, a little place called the Levy Lounge in Memphis, and he invited me to come by and see the guys play. So I went by, and it was, it was kind of sad, actually. Poor Jimmy, there's about 40 or 50 people in the place, and he's up there singing, Keep On Dancing. And so he told me about the fact that he loved the wrestling and everything. Anyway, an idea came up that he and I should get together and make a record. And so what we did, we got some musicians together. I went in the studio with Jimmy, and we did this record called Bad News, which sort of fit my persona at the time. We released the record, and that's how Jimmy and I really got to working together again. One thing led to another, and I thought, he's so enthusiastic, so energetic, and great personality, and all this sort of thing. And I said, Jimmy, you might not be bad in the wrestling business, but I didn't want to, I didn't think he would ever give up the music business. But man, he jumped at the chance. We went on. I made him my manager. We went on. We ruled wrestling all around the Tennessee area there for a long, long time. And then one day I was out on a Sunday, my only day off of the week, and I went out with a bunch of my friends, and we were playing tackle football at my old high school. And some guy came in. I was running with the ball. Some guy comes in, throws a chop block on me, and broke my leg. Right? I mean, seriously broke it, where I had to have 2 surgeries on it, and I was going to be out of wrestling for about a year. And here's Jimmy Hart out there, and he's got my crown, and he's got a guy named Paul Ellering, who later went on to become the manager of the Road Warriors. He's got this guy named Paul Ellering, Jimmy Hart, saying, "What do you do when a thoroughbred horse, when he breaks his leg? You shoot him. You get rid of him. You go on to something else." And so he puts my crown on this Paul Ellering's head, and he dumped me, just like, you know, I guess it was, he thought, I've lost my meal ticket, so I got to find something else. And so that's where we went our separate ways. For a long time, we weren't on the same page. But believe it or not, now we're back together again. Jimmy Hart is once again managing me down in Memphis. So it's kind of come full circle now. More a long story, wasn't it? Wow.
That's all right, though. It's a good story.